One thing that is very impressive about Year 1 Arknights operators is the fact that they are still very viable in the game. They are still talked about, you still see them in videos with the likes of Silver Ash, X here, and in the case of this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Eyjafjalla. And this is going to start off at DVEX5. Eyjafjalla is a wonderful unit when it comes to trying to build a very art-centric team, or even just trying to deal with some of the problems of these stages. So we're going to start off this stage just by placing Eyja over here facing into the blue box. And I'm using Eyja's skill 2 and 3. I'll explain to you what the skill does in just a little bit. So Eyja's just starting out this stage dealing some damage to the robot right in front of her. And then I'm going to place Saria right behind over there in front of the blue box. Now, Eyja's skill 2 states that she deals 370% of attack as arts damage in the next attack and deals half the amount of damage to enemies around the target. Her splash radius isn't quite like an AoE caster, it's more so just concentrated into a singular tile. So it would be good if you want to make use of that by ensuring that all the enemies are congregated into a tile, maybe because a defender is blocking them. So I'm just going to use Saria's skill 3 to help heal both herself and Eyja since there's that Rocketeer shooting at us. And Saria's skill 3 is always a very good friend for Eyja because it amplifies the amount of arts damage that's being dealt. So that helps to kill the enemies much quicker and also slows down the enemies. Eyja's skill is a charge skill. You can see it from the number above her head. So it tells you the number of charges that she's holding, and it's also very fast of a skill. So up to 3 charges can be held at a time, and the skill only takes 5 SP, so technically 5 seconds. So if you want her skill to pop up much faster, you might want to pair her with the likes of, say, Tilopsis, or maybe Stainless and Mostima in order to make sure that she's always having that triple charge in order to deal a big amount of damage. The other thing that makes Eyja's skill 2 so great is the fact that there is a debuff element, which is she can lower the resistance of the enemies by 25%. It's quite a lot, and it applies for 6 seconds. Now, if you deal multiple stacks, so multiple charges onto an enemy, take note that it's only just going to be big damage, but the duration of the debuff time doesn't stack with it. So if you do two charges, it doesn't mean that they are debuffed for 12 seconds. Instead, it's still going to be a flat out 6 seconds, basically. Now, there is that Rocketeer that is coming straight at us right now, so I'm just going to use Saria to again amplify the arts damage so that both Eyja and now Lyn can deal the damage to the enemies that are around them. So Lyn can deal the Rocketeer that's behind, and then with the combination of Lyn and Eyja, that's a lot of arts damage plus the debuff element being done to those walking robots over there, which is really nice to see that. Just with 2 pure damage dealers on the team and not a full squad of 12, you can still see how Eyja can combat some of the problems that you face within these stages. Now for the next stage, let's show you Eyja's skill 3. So I'm going to place Eyja over here, followed by Mostima right behind her just like that. So 2 people are trying to destroy this Zapper guy over here. And then I'll have Shining to heal afterwards. Now Eyja and Mostima is a pretty sweet pairing, both for their talents. So Eyja's talent states that the caster's attack will be increased for all casters when she's deployed by 14%, which is quite a significant number. And when she's deployed, she can gain a small random amount of skill points, which means that you can maybe be bursting her skill 2 or her skill 3. Depends on the situation. In the case of this, I don't need it to burst immediately when deployed, so it's kind of fine. But I will be using Eyja's skill 3 in just a little moment. So as soon as the enemy starts to, come into the blue box, we're going to use her volcano skill. It states that her attack increases, the range increases, kind of like a volcano range if you think about it, and then attack interval reduces significantly, so she'll just flash randomly everywhere, hitting up to 6 enemies at a time within the range. So it doesn't care about the target priority as to who is closest to blue box, it will just choose whichever 6 enemies whenever it does the lava spewing method. Okay, so now these guys are coming inwards, and this is a pretty good timing for us to basically do a big burst so that Eyja can go havoc and do whatsoever damage that she can onto this guy here. So there's some shed HP thing going on right now, which is why Eyja is having a hard time to kill the guy in front of her. But we'll give it just a little while. So all these little things here are about to charge up the laser beams, and we're just gonna make sure that they don't do just that. So as soon as one of them is kind of getting real close, what I'm gonna do is I will use Mostima's skill to basically cast a massive slow. Alright, we want to do this sort of slow to push all these small little guys back, and then afterwards we will then use Eyja's skill to probably do one giant burst. Alright, So now Muslima's skill is done, Eya, go! Volcano it all up and everybody vanishes, just like that, a good pairing of the two skills. Let's show you another stage where Eya's skill tree will be pretty effective. So in this particular stage, I've got Upenius at the front here. I'm just going to use his skill so that he helps to throw an anchor down. And then I'm going to place Eya over here, facing to the right. And then afterwards, with her sitting in the middle just like that, she's able to cast a bit of an extra hit to assist Upenius there, and with the use of the volcano, it will help to remove all of these range attacking enemies as well as the tough guy that's sitting towards the back over there. Now, compared to using maybe say a regular model caster that lots of people like to use today, a model caster's range doesn't quite match the volcano that Eya has. So if we take a look at Lin's skill for example, Lin only has a range like that, doesn't quite hit the ends over there. So there are times that you might just want to consider using Eya a bit more than maybe say a Carnelian or a Lin. Also, you might want to consider possibly redeploying Eya simply because you might want to change the position that Eya is sitting in certain stages that you play. So the other benefit is that you might allow the skill tree to pop a bit more since there is an SP gain that she gets upon deployment. I'm just going to use Upenia's skill to again stun this particular enemy, have some big damage that goes on over there, and let's say for example you don't want Eya to sit on this tile anymore, right? You want her to maybe now, instead of being in the middle of the map, go somewhere closer to the blue box. So I can just place her over here, and then afterwards, whensoever I feel there's a need to use the volcano again, maybe say for this bigger guy that's coming in later on, I can do so. When it comes to what skill to build for Eya, most of the time in casual content, you might be using skill 2 a lot more because it's easy to use, it's AFK, and it supports your team very well since it lowers the resistance of the enemies, and it also helps that her talent increases the attack of the casters. So in a stage like this where I'm just using Logos and Eya, it's already tons of buff that Eya provides since Logos damage is greatly enhanced. And also helps that you've got some lane holder over there just to, do the splash damage if any enemy gets caught within her range. After you've built Eya's skill 2, you might want to consider building skill 3. Because there's a lot of units in the game right now with bursting type of skills, I would say that Eya's skill 3 is a bit less considered. But you may still use it as a form of supportive firepower in order to deal with some of the problems in the stage. So like for instance in this particular stage, you do have a big health of a boss where a singular Pozionka, for example, might not be able to handle it. So in this case, I'm going to use both Eya's skill and Pozionka's skill to deal with the boss in order to do enough damage, and there you go, Minimalist has been shot down just like that. If you play certain IS stages as well, you might want to consider using Volcano a little bit more often in order to maybe clear out the enemies, especially those that spawn in a huge mess at the start of a stage. A final word of advice as to how to build your Eya. As soon as you've E2'd her, I would suggest that you give her skill to M1 because you're able to make her store 3 charges instead of 2 charges. So basically when there's no enemy in her range, she'll start storing up all of the SP and she can throw 3 fireballs at once instead of 2. Pretty big amount of damage that you can enjoy. Then as to which one to M3 first, that's up to you. If you don't have that much burst units in your account and Eya is the first one that you see that has, such a big range, able to kill many enemies at once, you can consider giving her a skill 3 M3. But if you have tons of burst units with the likes of maybe say Logos, Wizardel, Silver Ash, Lemwin, Moina, Laser Outer, Exo Outer, Monster, Tragodia, Reed Outer, Surtur, there's probably 10-20 more that I could name because at this day and age of Arknights, there's just way too many units that does a similar role to her. If you have at least one of them, I would say to build them first, but if Eya's the only one, then feel free to just give her M3 on that 3rd skill. Otherwise, then you can just do 2nd skill M3 first, then skill 3 M3 after. At the time of filming this video, there is no mod Y yet, but you probably won't prefer it because what it does is that it doesn't have any more RNG to the skill points you get on deployment. So it's good on a skill 3 Helidrop, and you also get increased ASPD. But what it misses out on is the much nicer ignore resistance that Mod X has, because ignoring resistance means you can apply 10% more arts damage, which is pretty significant, especially when you have all the skills turned on. Also, Mod X has a much more powerful upgrade that you can get on level 2 or 3. So in this case at level 2, I think what a lot of people misses out on is that the caster operators can get attack up when Eya is deployed. That is at mod level 1 or modless. But when you have it at mod level 2, all casters can actually enjoy the attack so long as Eya is within the squad. Which sounds pretty insane, right? If you're using skill 3, you're using her as a Helidrop, you retreat her and you want to put her somewhere else, all the casters that's currently in the stage can still get to enjoy the attack up. Pretty darn powerful, I would say, so much so that I gotta upgrade that. But you do not have to go to mod level 3 because it's just a 4% upgrade. Seems nice if you're using a caster-centric team, then go ahead and do so. If you're not, you just want to use her in casual content and IS and whatnot, this is probably more than enough for you to take. So that's how you should be building her, and I hope this video has explained to you how to use your Eyjafjalla. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.